Mexico's president launches explosive counterattack against revelations of CIA's covert drug war operations on Mexican soil. September 15, 2025. In the corridors of power in Mexico City, a diplomatic firestorm erupted as Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum delivered a scathing response to explosive allegations about America's secret intelligence operations. The target, a bombshell Reuters investigation that exposed years of covert CIA activities operating deep within Mexico's most classified military units. The revelation sent shockwaves through both governments, exposing a shadow war that has been raging in secrecy for years. On Friday morning, President Sheinbaum.
Today's afternoon spotlight. Reuters is pulling back the curtain on a fight that most Americans didn't even know was happening, a covert war just across the U.S. southern border. Their investigation reveals that the CIA has been quietly training and directing elite Mexican units tasked with hunting down the country's most dangerous drug lords. And what Reuters uncovered is how the agency brought its war on terror toolkit into Mexico's drug war. In CIA speak, it's called find, fix, finish. In plain English, it means find the target, lock them down so they can't escape, and then move in to capture or terminate. It's the same strategy that the agency used against terrorists after 9/11. And now it's being turned on Mexico's cartels. Let's start in January of 2023. Helicopter gunships roared over rural Sinaloa as Mexican soldiers closed in on Ovidio Guzman Lopez. He's the son of drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. The Mexican army carried out the raid, but the CIA was behind the curtain. The agency had built a detailed targeting package, surveillance intercepts, insider tips, intel from a cartel associate who had flipped. The
Bomb stood before the world's media and delivered her verdict with surgical precision. The Reuters report detailing CIA involvement in Mexico's drug war operations was, in her words, categorically false. But her denial sparked an immediate response from the international news agency, which fired back that Mexico's president had mischaracterized their meticulously researched investigation. The battle lines were drawn between two versions of the truth, with billions of dollars in drug war operations hanging in the balance. The Reuters investigation had pulled back the curtain on one of the most secretive partnerships in modern intelligence warfare against drug cartels. Based on interviews with more than 60 current and retired American and Mexican officials, the report revealed sophisticated operations that mirror the tactics once reserved for hunting terrorists in the Middle East. The CIA's involvement represents a fundamental shift in how America approaches the drug war, bringing counter-terrorism expertise directly to bear on cartel leadership structures. According to the investigation, elite Mexican military units receive comprehensive support from American intelligence agencies. This includes advanced surveillance technology, specialized training programs, and financial backing for international operations. The partnership has transformed select Mexican forces into highly capable cartel hunting units, equipped with tools.
23. Helicopter gunships roared over rural Sinaloa as Mexican soldiers closed in on Ovidio Guzman Lopez. He's the son of drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. The Mexican army carried out the raid, but the CIA was behind the curtain. The agency had built a detailed targeting package, surveillance intercepts, insider tips, intel from a cartel associate who had flipped. The unit, also, that ultimately stormed Ovidio's hideout wasn't just any Mexican force. It was a group that was trained, equipped, and vetted by the CIA, known as GAIN, in English, the Drug Trafficking Information Analysis Group. The operation was a major success. Ovidio was captured, extradited to the U.S., and pled guilty to drug trafficking charges. But let's rewind to 2019, and the picture looked very different. That same CIA-backed unit grabbed Ovidio once before, only to be surrounded by hundreds of cartel gunmen in the streets of Culiacan. The Mexican president at the time ordered his release to prevent mass civilian deaths. That fiasco showed the world just how powerful the cartels had become and just how dangerous the fight against
and tactics that were previously unavailable to them. In recent years, these elite units have achieved remarkable operational successes. The capture of high-profile cartel leaders, including members of the Guzman family dynasty, demonstrates the effectiveness of this enhanced cooperation. These operations required precise intelligence, careful planning, and the kind of sophisticated surveillance capabilities that only come from advanced intelligence partnerships. The successful raids represent a new chapter in Mexico's ability to strike at the heart of cartel leadership structures. But President Sheinbaum's response revealed the delicate diplomatic tightrope both nations must walk. While acknowledging that cooperation and coordination exist between the U.S. and Mexican governments in opposing drug cartels, she drew a hard line on one specific point. It is not true that there are CIA agents in Mexican army operations, she declared. That is totally false. Her words carried the weight of national sovereignty, pushing back against any suggestion that foreign operatives were directly embedded in Mexican military missions. The Reuters investigation painted a different picture of operational reality. According to their sources, the CIA operates in Mexico strictly at the discretion of Mexico's government. Every capture operation requires Mexican government approval, and crucially, Mexican forces execute all missions, not U.S. personnel. This distinction becomes critical in understanding the true nature of the partnership. It's not American boots on Mexican soil, but American intelligence, training, and resources, flowing to Mexican operators who carry out the dangerous work of hunting cartel leaders. Meanwhile, the broader war against drug trafficking continues to evolve beyond land-based operations. Maritime operations have intensified dramatically in recent months. The U.S. Coast Guard has ramped up enforcement actions in the Pacific, intercepting massive cocaine shipments and destroying narco vessels used to transport drugs from South America. These operations represent another front in the multifaceted war against cartels, demonstrating how the fight extends across international waters and requires coordination between multiple agencies and nations. The timing of Sheinbaum's response was significant. Her Friday remarks represented her first public comment on the Reuters report since its publication earlier in the week. Prior to publication, both her office and the Mexican army had remained silent, ignoring multiple requests for comment and detailed questions submitted by Reuters. This wall of silence had only added to the intrigue surrounding the investigation's revelations. The Mexican Navy's
south of the Galapagos Islands in the Pacific. Watch this. The Coast Guard posting on X saying over the weekend, as part of Operation Pacific Viper, the Coast Guard cutter Stone conducted 3 interdictions in a single night, seizing nearly 13,000 pounds of cocaine and apprehending 7 suspected drug smugglers. And while this operation was more of a law enforcement interdiction rather than a shoot-to-kill military strike like we recently saw over a week ago with that Venezuelan narco boat,
response, included in the original Reuters report, had been more measured. They acknowledged maintaining knowledge exchange and cooperation with navies, maritime forces, and other agencies from various countries to strengthen operational capabilities and collaboration on regional security. Their words suggested a more diplomatic acknowledgement of international partnerships without confirming specific CIA involvement. The scale of the operations described in the Reuters investigation is staggering. For years, according to their sources, CIA operatives have been working alongside Mexico's most elite military units. These partnerships involve sophisticated surveillance systems, advanced training programs, and financial support that enables Mexican forces to travel internationally in pursuit of high-value targets. The collaboration represents one of the most extensive intelligence partnerships between the two nations, hidden from public view until now. What makes this revelation particularly explosive is the context of Mexico's complex relationship with American drug war efforts. For decades, Mexico has walked a careful line between accepting American assistance and maintaining national sovereignty. The country has faced criticism for both cooperating too closely with U.S. agencies and not cooperating enough. President Sheinbaum's response reflects this ongoing tension, acknowledging cooperation while firmly rejecting any suggestion of American operational control. Despite tactical victories and high-profile arrests, the human cost continues to mount on both sides of the border. Mexico experiences approximately 30,000 murders annually related to drug violence, while the United States faces a devastating fentanyl crisis claiming between 50,000 and 75,000 lives each year. These sobering statistics raise fundamental questions about whether the current strategy, often called the kingpin approach, actually reduces violence or simply fragments cartels into smaller, more violent.
But here's the hard truth. Even with these tactical wins, the bigger picture remains grim. Mexico still records around 30,000 murders a year, much of it cartel-related. And on the U.S. side of the border, fentanyl has fueled a death toll of 50 to 75,000 Americans every single year. The kingpin strategy, knocking off cartel bosses, has often backfired, splintering groups into rival factions and sparking bloody wars. As one former CIA officer told Reuters, Sicario is a good movie, but bad policy. Drugs are a consumption problem, not a production problem. We can't just kill our way out of this, end quote. Although, frankly, it doesn't mean you shouldn't give it a good faith effort. Politically, the stakes are rising. The Trump administration has labeled several Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist organizations and floated the idea of unilateral U.S. military strikes. Mexico's new president, Claudia Sheinbaum, has promised stepped-up cooperation against the cartels, but she's also
factions competing for territory. The Reuters investigation's methodology adds credibility to their claims. Interviews with more than 60 current and retired officials from both countries represent an unprecedented level of source material for such a sensitive topic. These officials, speaking on condition of anonymity, painted a picture of deep operational integration that goes far beyond typical diplomatic cooperation. They described CIA training programs that transform Mexican military units into highly effective cartel hunting forces, equipped with American surveillance technology and backed by American intelligence networks. The financial implications of these operations are enormous. The Reuters report suggests that CIA financial backing extends to travel expenses for Mexican forces pursuing targets across international borders. This level of financial integration indicates a partnership that goes far beyond information sharing to actual operational support. Mexican forces, according to these sources, have been able to pursue cartel leaders across multiple countries, with American financial backing and logistical support. President Sheinbaum's categorical denial creates a fascinating diplomatic puzzle. Her statement that CIA agents are not present in Mexican army operations could be technically accurate, while the broader Reuters claims remain true. If CIA operatives are providing training, equipment, and intelligence support without directly participating in field operations, both versions of events could coexist. Mexican forces could be executing all missions while still receiving extensive CIA support. The geopolitical implications of this revelation extend far beyond Mexico's borders. Drug cartels operate across international boundaries, and effective counter-cartel operations require the kind of cross-border intelligence sharing and operational support described in the Reuters investigation. The success of these operations, if they exist as described, could explain recent high-profile cartel arrests and disruptions that have weakened major criminal organizations. The Reuters spokesperson's response to President Sheinbaum's denial was swift and uncompromising. They stood by their report completely, stating that it had been mischaracterized by the Mexican government. This creates an unusual situation where a major news organization is directly contradicting a head of state's public statements. The credibility of both sides now hangs in the balance, with the truth likely somewhere in the complex details of how these operations actually function. The broader context of U.S.-Mexico drug war cooperation adds layers of complexity to this controversy. Recent developments have seen the CIA expanding drone operations over Mexico, with the current administration treating counter-cartel work as a form of counterterrorism. These new operations, conducted with Mexican government awareness, represent a significant escalation in American involvement in Mexico's drug war efforts. President Sheinbaum's position reflects the political realities she faces domestically. Mexican public opinion remains sensitive about American involvement in national affairs, and any admission of extensive CIA operations could trigger significant political backlash. Her denial allows her to maintain the fiction of full Mexican control over anti-cartel operations while potentially allowing the actual cooperation to continue behind closed doors. The technical aspects of the alleged cooperation reveal the sophistication of modern counter-cartel operations. CIA surveillance assistance, according to the Reuters sources, includes advanced tracking technology that allows Mexican forces to monitor cartel communications and movements across vast territories. This technological edge could explain recent successes in capturing high-value targets who had previously seemed untouchable. Training programs allegedly conducted by CIA operatives would transform ordinary Mexican military units into specialized cartel hunting forces. These programs would cover advanced tactics, intelligence analysis, and operational security measures necessary for successful operations against well-armed and well-funded criminal organizations. The value of such training cannot be overstated in a conflict where cartels often outgun government forces. The equipment provided through these partnerships, if they exist as described, would include communications gear, surveillance equipment, and specialized weapon systems that give Mexican forces crucial advantages in their battles against cartels. This equipment would be far more advanced than what Mexican military units typically possess, explaining their enhanced effectiveness in recent operations. The financial backing described in the Reuters investigation enables Mexican forces to pursue targets beyond their normal operational range. International travel, extended surveillance operations, and coordination with foreign law enforcement agencies all require significant financial resources that Mexican military budgets might not normally cover. CIA financial support would remove these constraints, allowing Mexican forces to operate more effectively across international boundaries. As this controversy continues to unfold, the truth likely lies in the complex details of how intelligence partnerships actually function in practice. President Sheinbaum's denial may be technically accurate while the broader Reuters claims remain substantially true. The distinction between CIA agents participating directly in operations and CIA support enabling Mexican operations may be the key to understanding both positions. The implications of this revelation extend far beyond the immediate diplomatic controversy. If extensive CIA-Mexican military cooperation is real and effective, it represents a new model for international counter-narcotics cooperation that could be replicated elsewhere. If President Sheinbaum's denials are accurate, it raises questions about the effectiveness of current anti-cartel strategies and the need for new approaches. What remains clear is that the war against drug cartels requires unprecedented levels of international cooperation and resource sharing. Whether that cooperation takes the form described in the Reuters investigation or follows different models, the scale of the cartel threat demands responses that transcend traditional boundaries between nations and agencies. The battle between Reuters and President Sheinbaum over the truth of CIA operations in Mexico reflects larger questions about transparency, sovereignty, and effectiveness in modern warfare against transnational criminal organizations. As both sides stand by their versions of events, the public is left to navigate competing claims about operations that, by their very nature, are designed to remain secret. What do you think about this explosive diplomatic confrontation? Is President Sheinbaum protecting Mexican sovereignty, or is she denying effective cooperation that saves lives? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay informed about the secret operations shaping our world, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for the latest updates on this developing story.